Hey guys, Dark Humility here with another closed beta season 11 mini guide and demo, and here we are on the Assassin, which is probably one of the more hype probably one of the more hype builds this season. A complete rework to Blade Fury, and now bounces off of everything, including off of itself, off of monsters, and it's been adjusted many times in this beta, but since we're making these videos here at the very end of the beta for the most part, you can really get an idea of just how powerful some of these actually are. So, really good stuff in general. It's pretty sick. So I'm going to show you guys, of course, how to build one of these things optimally, and of course, how and of course show it off. We're going to start the stats, we'll do the skills, and we'll do the mercenary, the gear, and of course we will then follow up with the demos. So hopefully you guys enjoy this most awesome build. It is a crazy good time. But as a disclaimer, in the actual open beta final patch notes, they can still change things. After all, this is still closed beta. And of course, we don't have the most optimized gear, as it's possible to corrupt on live, whereas I have not been able to for the vast majority of beta. I did make a +2 Annie, but that's pretty much all I was able to do, because it would take too much time to do that with all the other things I want to do. But optimization is always possible, so just keep that in mind. There's plenty more sustain or damage reduction, or even damage you could potentially get. Even though I think this build's pretty almost maxed out on damage, you could eke out a little bit more, but you'll see what I mean, of course, when we go over the gear. Anyway, GG. So let's show off this beauty. We have, oh yeah, also, make sure, of course, you guys check out the tier list that'll be dropping. Tier list and infographic, they'll be dropping either the 13th or 14th after the final patch notes come out after open beta. And of course, the new season starts the 16th, 10 PT, Prosperity. Be there for the awesome next installment. Season 11 is coming. And the devs have done so many cool changes, including bowing in town, so keep that in mind. And of course, currency and so many insane things like reworks to this awesome build. I would say last season Blade Fury didn't have much of a place. Blade Fury was just outshined and outshadowed by Blade Sentinel and mapping, and bossing, and everything. And of course, it's basically the same build, because as you'll see here, they share synergies and everything. So the fact that it was just outshined in every way, shape, or form was kind of silly. But this is now better for mapping, and this still can kill bosses. Maybe not as fast as Sentinel, but there's actually now a distinction between Sentinel and Fury in terms of their strengths and weaknesses. But anyway, let's get on to the stats. Enough strength to wear your gear. Dex is a little complicated on this build. It depends if you're going max block or not. You could go max block, especially on hardcore, that is a thing. You also might want enough ARs. So you definitely want like around 9,000, 10,000 AR if you can hit that. Or you want ignore target defense, which you can get from a jaw rune. So Dex is a little tricky. You also do need a lot of Dex for the claw in this case as well, so like I said, Dex is a little tricky. It's a tricky thing. So yeah. Of course, Vitality, you're gonna want to put the rest of your points in Vitality, and then Res. Ideally, you get max Res pretty easy, I would say, on the Assassin. With Fade, of course, I get damage reduction as well. Fade is really good on this build, as long as you're wearing a fast enough weapon. If you don't, you can go Burst of Speed. However, I do recommend, in general, the faster weapons, and I do, in general, recommend very high damage claws. Of course, I believe the Stalker's Phoenix combo to be just the best in terms of sustain, damage, chaining between monsters, and just in general for mapping experience. For bossing, Two-handed weapons like F Reaper's Toll, F Cranium Basher. Heck, even Stalkers is still good for that because that's fast. Or an Amp Claw, like a really high-end Craft Claw. Very strong stuff you could definitely use. But we'll get more into the gear though. But in general, damage reduction, res, very good stats. Attack speed's kind of interesting. It does help out with the windup, and it also allows you to throw out more shurikens. It's kind of a hidden value though. With a claw with a fast claw like Runic Talons though, you don't have to worry about it as much. With a slower weapon though, you might need to put more attack speed jewels or just attack speed on your gear in general, or you might have to go versus speed over fade. So, but in my case, fade's gonna be just fine. And then, of course, hit recovery is good, particularly if you don't have max block or claw block. This is not a claw block build. You can definitely go claw block as well, so that is a thing. However, you're just gonna want to use your highest damage claw. It doesn't use both claws, so we'll use the one in the left. So keep that in mind. Got hit recovery. Attack rating, like I said, is kind of pretty important as well. Run walk helps a little bit, but you'll be chaining with Dragon Flight mainly. So that's your teleport. So you don't really have to worry about much. Another thing that's kind of important is Crushing Blow, but what's even more in Leech is actually pretty important. It'd actually be nice to have more Mana Leech, but Life Leech is particularly more important, especially if you're not running Phoenix. But if you are, they both help out quite a bit. And then Deadly Strike is very important. So we're actually hitting 75, which is exactly where we want to be. Maximum DS. Of course, if you go Ray Skin, you could hit 85. So that could be even more cool. Actually, I think Ray Skin might be... let me see here. Ray Skin... Yeah. So yeah, Ray Skin 85 is actually pretty sick. You can definitely do that as well. But of course, I think Fortitude overall is a bit more balanced, and it's just a simple thing to test, so we'll be testing that. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. And then Magic Find or whatever other elective stats that you want. There's a lot of elements to this build. There's Sustain. The weapon speed does matter for attack speed to some extent. You need attack rating. And then you want as much negative enemy physical res as possible as well, in addition to damage and damage jewels. You want Deadly Strike, you want Sustain, you want Survivability. It's quite a bit going on this build, but that's kind of why we do these mini guides and demos, because some builds like this one aren't totally obvious, in my opinion, for the most optimal approach. This approach I believe to be hands down the best, but I'm sure other people might disagree, and of course, heck, there's even ways to like fit in iron golems into this build, so I mean, with shadows and whatnot. You can even use the new claw for like an extra shadow as like a second claw, and then you can have claw block, and then you can have an extra shadow, and then you can protect an iron golem a bit better, and then you could maybe run another damage aura. So I mean, there's just a lot of things you can do, like you can use Beast or Pride, whatever. It's a lot of potential, but I'm going to show you something that's a little bit more super strong, but also a little bit more basic. So yeah. Anyway, skills, let's go into the skills. So you max out Blade Fury, Blade Shield, Blade Sentinel. These are the synergies. We're not going to show off Sentinel here, but I think I've done that in a previous season's video, maybe even last season. Blade Sentinel, very strong, of course. We're going to want to max out Claw and Dagger Mastery. So long as you're using a Claw or a Dagger, like Flesh Ripper. Flesh Ripper is really good, by the way, too, for this build. Or Stalker's Cull, which, I don't know. Stalker's Cull is just so good because of the Dragonflight cooldown reduction. It's kind of hard to get away from, despite even nerfs this season. So, it's just that strong. It is what it is, though. Yeah, free Dragonflight point as well on that thing, so it's very nice, it's very smooth. Max out Fade for that max survivability. Max out Claw and Dagger Master. You can also max out the Shadow Masters, so it has a better chance of surviving. But reducing curse duration is also good, so it's kind of hard, and if you go double Claw, you would actually put a lot of points into weapon block, so it really does depend. If you're going Shadow Warriors, using the new Claw, the Whispering Mirage, you would, max out this. So passives change out quite a bit. Or if you're not using a claw or dagger, you don't max that out. So it's pretty variable stuff, but since we are, that's what we did, so we're pretty good. Blade Shield will help you leech, of course, as well, so keep that in mind. Definitely going to want to run that constantly, along with Heart of the Wolverine from Wisp Projector and other things. Alright, let's go over the Mercenary real quick. So the Mercenary is actually quite interesting. So, Mercenary, I've actually become a really big fan of this Mercenary. This is kind of a high-end thing, but basically as high of a chance to cast like really high level amp as possible, while also casting Battle Cry on striking. So all this striking is also procced by Innocence, and the Merc doesn't necessarily need to Whirlwind to proc these things. You just need to jump into the monsters, which I'm going to do naturally on this build anyway. So he doesn't really have any damage auras except for his native might aura, but you could also go Fanaticism on this Mercenary, and you could use Atmas on yourself, so that's another possibility, but then you have less Deadly Strike and you have less plus skills. So there's definitely a lot of different aspects, and then I already talked about the Metal Grid thing. But survivability, damage on the rest of it. The Blade Shield's going to proc these striking effects, and it's going to make them... We're going to get like multiple negative Phys Res debuffs on the monsters, so it's going to be pretty nasty stuff. And it's a Might Mercenary, but like I said, you could also go Whirlwind, and then go like Beast plus Templars would work on a Whirlwind one for more auras, and then you could still run Cyclopean Roar, and then he'll still get Battle Cry pretty often because it's Whirlwind, and he also cast it on the Whirlwind version, so definitely very valid there as well. And it gives you free bow, so that's kind of good if your bow isn't great or you just don't have it. Gear wise, Stalker's Coal, low rune allows us to reach maximum deadly strike. The rest of it's just ED max damage, or Ohm runes will also be similar, but not in this. So you're gonna need ED max damage and Veil of Steel, and then of course Deadly Strike, attack speed, skill. It's pretty good. Lots of enhanced damage on this, which is really good for damage. Life, res is gonna be really sick too, and then that sustained from the Redemption Aura is crazy. Enhanced damage on Fortitude, enhanced damage on Race Skin, enhanced damage on Tyraels, as long as you're not doing cows, because cows are beasts, so that's not good. Fortitude's just kind of an all-around good one, though. For a more defensive approach, you can run Shaft Stop with Jewels. Doesn't matter. Cold Arm, Lidless Wall, Soul Drainers. You're going to want that Dual Leech, man, and that negative Phys Res if you can. Leech is very good. It's also why we're wearing String of Ears. We got Wisp Projector. String of Ears is good. You could also wear the new belt if you have high defense, but this build doesn't really stack defense, so I don't know. It's not that amazing. Of course, if you have Purgatory and you're wearing like an Eth Shield or like 2 Eth Claws and like everything's Eth and Zodded and whatnot, Purgatory would be nice. That's also damage, so it's very good. So you go Wisp Projector, String of Ears, Raven Frost, and Gore Riders. And so believe it or not, plus skills are actually best on this build, not max damage. That's why we have all these trap skillers. And of course, you got that Annie. It's even corrupted. And we got a Assassin Torch. And that's basically it. That's how you build this. So I'm going to tell you straight up, for mapping, no matter what, nothing is better than Claws. And because of Claw and Dagger Mastery, and just really godly claws. And I would even argue that Stalker's Coal is probably just best in slot because of the cooldown reduction. And then, you know, it's kind of hard to beat. And then, alright, so you throw out your Shadow Master. I'm using a Master. Warriors don't copy this ability, so it's not really that crazy using the new Claw or using Warriors. Masters have res, so they survive a bit better. And then just cast all your buffs. Make sure to cast Blade Shield as well. Make sure to recast Fade. And you're good to go. I'll show a little bit what's going on here. And then you can just see how ridiculously cool this is. Like, it's so strong. And you can see with the wall, the bounces off the wall, the bounces off the monsters. It already was able to bounce off walls, but I mean, my goodness. Really crazy stuff here. As you can see, I am taking quite a bit of damage. Lacking DR a bit. And obviously block would help. This is definitely software version of the build. Hardcore, I'd probably just wear Storm Shield, honestly. And then focus on getting my leeches up a bit higher instead of wearing Phoenix. But Phoenix is also for the damage, so Phoenix is a lot of damage. You can see we're hitting, you know, 30k here, but you'll see I lose like 4k damage if I do that, so. But you're noticing another thing, so look at all these negative Fizz Res debuffs we're getting on the monsters here. So it's yeah, look how instantaneous that is sometimes. Not always, but Mercenary is casting a lot of them, getting the aura. It's pretty nuts. So yeah, it's sick. It's really sick. You can throw it off the walls, throw it off the monsters. I feel like I'm in Naruto right now, man. Like this is a sick build. If I get the gear for this on my hardcore solo self-bound journey, I am doing it. 100%. And they actually just recently increased the range again. There's been several rounds of nerfs and buffs to this ability, this beta. We're in the last iteration here, so we'll see what happens when the final patch notes come out, but you can see there in about 2 minutes, we got it's like 2.05. Let's see what the exact numbers of monsters per minute here in this map was real quick. I'll get it for you. We ran a little bit over, but you can see here that it's, yeah, this is really strong. I'd say the biggest thing is that you have to stand still to fire it. It's probably the biggest limitation. But as I'm sure you guys are aware of, though, it's pretty nuts stuff just in general. Let's see, 2.1. Yeah, so it's 613 monsters per minute, over 124. That's really good. That was it's really solid stuff, honestly. That's really good. So we're also going to show out show off a throne here, and yeah. Also show off a Fledgathon for a couple minutes as well. You can see it consistently, it's dealing insane damage. Given that it bounces off things, it does feed off of density, whereas like Sentinel would probably be better for fortified maps with the higher HP monsters but less of them. So that is something I would actually keep in mind. Before I start doing the maps more though, I can actually show off, let's see. I'm actually doing, so I actually haven't tested the final patch notes for this ability. It was already sick, but they buffed it again slightly, so I'm actually getting the numbers right now for the tier list. So we're gonna do that while we make this mini guide and demo, you know. I gotta make the most use of my time, man. Like, I didn't take off work this time, for doing all this, so we'll get only about 60 hours total this time of testing, rather than like 80 or 90 last time. But, I think every other season I'll take off work and get more thorough testing. We did get some very thorough testing anyway, though. You can see, though, the Merc proccing on them. It's, yeah, I mean, it's still insanely strong. Sentinel, I think, is where it's at, but as you can see for bosses, like, Fury is definitely competitive. And I think even for bosses, you can argue because of the ability to wear a shield and everything, that the claws are still better. The claws and the daggers, definitely going to be where it's at, just in general. Alright, let's get some numbers for our Throne of Insanity here. Yeah. Let's see. Let's get it kills all. Get it updated. Damn, he killed 2 monsters. Rip. Inaccurate. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Alright, so as you can see, in a map like this, it's pretty good. We'll call that a 35-second start there. I kind of messed up something there. We'll go to 235 here. You can see the range is higher though. I think this is actually where the ability should be in terms of power and whatnot. The damage is kind of nuts actually. Like, as you can see, we're not lacking damage. So like, while there is 100% weapon damage now and it bounces off of everything, which are the main changes, they've kind of toned it down range-wise a little bit, but it doesn't really matter because it's just so strong. You can see, it's crazy. Yeah, see, even when we don't get amp, we get the other one, you know? It's kind of crazy. Get battle cry. Almost don't even need them, honestly. But it does help, of course, against phys immunes. It's a pretty big issue, so rather it can be. Yeah, not a lot can escape these shurikens. You know, throw them off the wall. I can do that there. Oh man. If you like Naruto, those Naruto weebs are gonna be all over this, let me tell you. I feel like a real OP ninja, man. Super OP ninja. As you can see with the Stalker's Coal, the ability to chain faster is pretty good. Okay, well, count that. Arguably, you should actually like chain before you finish casting so that you can get to the next pack a bit faster. But I'd say that's a pretty good representation still, though. We might have not played that 100% optimally, but you can see though that it's pretty close. And once again, the only main weakness is kind of the same as Strafe, oddly enough, on the Amazon, which will actually I do plan on making a video for here pretty soon. Because yeah, Strafe is sick. Strafe is very sick, and Strafe is really good this season for other reasons, but I guess it has a similar weakness though. So 544 over 123 though. Yeah, it's pretty good. And then I guess we'll just do Fledge-a-thon, and that'll be it for the demo portion. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed, of course, the demos. It's pretty freaking sick, right? I think it's sick. Spending a little bit more time on this mini demo than I do on some of them, but we'll still be done before 30 minutes. But that's because I'm also testing the numbers. So I guess there's something to it. Well, well, well. Yeah, but the hype is real though, and I actually feel like Assassin's gonna be like probably the most played class this season. Despite me making all of these Sorceress videos, I'm gonna make like 2 Assassin videos, but you'll see that between martial skills and between this, it's gonna be a crazy time. And of course there's still Blade Dance, which virtually unchanged from last season, but pretty much not changed at all, which is why it wasn't retested and why I'm not gonna highlight it, but trying to highlight builds that have gotten awesome changes in these kinds of videos I'm making here this season. Really trying to focus on that so people are like, oh wow, it's actually really good this season, and they can see why. Of course, if you want to watch previous season videos, plenty of them are still highly relevant, particularly from Season 9 or Season 10, as the more like really heavy mechanical changes have slowed down a bit in PD2 as the game is starting to settle into a really good place. But that being said, they're still doing crazy amounts of other changes, so I mean, it's not like they're slacking. Alright. Alright, 130. You can kind of see that if you kill all the monsters on the screen, you got nothing to use Dragonflight to. So that can be a little problematic. It's actually best not to fire until there's nothing left if you want to optimize the gameplay on this build. And in a lot of cases, you can just fire for a little bit. As you can see, even without many points, Shadow Master survives pretty decently, whereas Shadow Warrior, you can trust me, it just doesn't. You'd have to invest more points into it, so yeah, there's pros and cons. The Shadow Warrior coughing your abilities, though, is really good, though. Definitely plan on making 1 or 2 more Assassin videos, though. So I'd say like Assassin and Sorceress are getting the most videos this season just by quantity, because their changes to their builds and the effectiveness of them are, it's so much more insane than last season. And I'll try to highlight buffs for the most part. Nerfs, honestly, the nerfs weren't that big overall, so like even things that did get nerfed, it didn't really affect the build terribly. So I'm not really going to focus on showing something that was nerfed. You guys can just rest assured in knowing that it's good. Definitely. But yeah, as you can see, pretty freaking strong, right? Killed. When there's lower density, I can't reach the next monsters. It's crazy. But I think you guys get the idea, though. And yeah, see you guys May 16th here, just Friday of this week coming up. 10 PT, and of course, for the awesomeness of the, for the awesomeness of the sacred tablets, those will arrive, of course, 13th or 14th. Dude, I love it. There's this comment in Reddit, it's like sacred tablets, man. I swear, it got a lot of upvotes too. It's ridiculous. You guys are something else. I love it though. But yeah, absolutely. GG guys. Bladeson is a monster. Still hitting over 500. Even see, cows are really good, but as you can see, I think Throne was a little bit better. Bouncing off walls is a little bit better than Fledgeathon, but it's still pretty good. So it's still hitting like 505 here, 129. So it's almost 500 overall. Like Blade Fury is going to be definitely a prominent build this season. No jokes about it. However, I think overall, as you'll see with the tier list, I think Phoenix Strike still wins. But that's just like being the very fastest build. But that's just because it has such crazy consistent AoE. So there's so many good builds this season though. So don't sleep on them for sure. Blade Sentinel can do fortified or non-fortified. This one I would do non-fortified, but yeah. Anyway, on to the next assassin build, and see you guys there. DH from the Mad Lab, the Mad Lad. Wishing you guys a great night, and see you guys in the next one. Dark Humility over now. Let's get it. Let's smash it.